Let's go take a look at that.
We're drilling.
Beautiful. There's something right there. Nice little signal there. Sounds good.
I think we have another stake.
Steak? Oh, look at that.
We're looking for a big flat stone.
No one knows exactly what the Oak Island team uncovered that night, only that the moment they touched it, everything changed. Witnesses say alarms went off underground, alarms no one on the island installed. Lights flickered, the ground vibrated, and within minutes, federal vehicles flooded the island, sealing off the site before anyone could record what they found. Workers were ordered to step back. Phones were confiscated, and the excavation tunnel was immediately covered, like the discovery beneath it was never meant to see daylight. What did they find? Why were U.S. authorities already prepared? And why are insiders saying the discovery is not of this century? Before we unravel the pieces of this chilling mystery, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because the truth behind this shutdown is darker than anyone expected. Let's begin. The void that stopped Oak Island. The Laganina brothers, who've basically turned treasure hunting into a full-time gig, were drilling again, this time into a spot they named DN 11.5. Why? Because it sat right in the middle of all the juicy rumors. Buried treasure, old tunnels, maybe even pirate gold. Geologist Terry and researcher Charles were glued to their screens as the drill chewed through the earth. The target was somewhere between 80 and 120 feet down, where stories and maps have long hinted that something valuable or dangerous might be hiding. But at 90 feet, the screen lit up. Something was there. Then it happened. At the 90-foot mark, the drill didn't just keep digging. It punched through nothing, like a hollow space, large and unexplained. And when you're dealing with land that's been filled, tunneled, and booby-trapped for centuries, a hollow spot is a red flag in blinking neon. Mike, the drilling guy, knew the moment it happened. The drill suddenly lost resistance, as if the earth just gave up, and whatever was underneath seemed to vanish about 1.5 feet further down. No clank of metal, no splash of water, just a void. Everyone froze, eyes widened, hearts pounded. What they found wasn't gold, not in the way people imagined it. It was weirder than that, a space that shouldn't be there. Charles said what they were all thinking. Rick and Marty needed to see this fast. Within minutes, the brothers showed up looking like they had been waiting years for this moment. This wasn't just another odd blip underground. What made this void different was that it aligned perfectly with 2 other drill sites, forming a straight east-west line, too precise to be coincidence. That's what got Terry's attention. Terry started connecting dots. It didn't feel like natural erosion. It looked like a blueprint, like someone long ago dug something and did it with a purpose. A tunnel, a chamber, maybe both. And Oak Island has always been good at hiding man-made nightmares under its surface. The strange part was that this whole alignment was right around 94 feet deep. That number isn't random. It pops up again and again in old documents, theories, and whispered legends. People have been digging above or below that level for years, never landing quite right. Now, for the first time, maybe they had. Excitement started bubbling. People paced, whispered, pointed at maps. Terry was already scribbling out plans, but just as the energy was hitting a high point, it all got turned on its head. That's when the government showed up. No warning, no explanation, just orders. Everything stops. Pack up, clear the site, and don't talk to the press. They called it a precaution, something about site integrity, historical preservation, and safety concerns. But behind the scenes, people were buzzing. What did they really find? Why the sudden silence? And who tipped off the authorities? Some people whispered that it might be a buried ship. Others insisted it could be a sealed chamber holding something far different from treasure. Documents, relics, maybe even something hazardous. And then there were the ones with that wide-eyed certainty who believed it was evidence of a centuries-old cover-up, something older than every Oak Island legend, something certain people never wanted exposed. Now the island sits in silence. The drills are packed away. The workers have gone home. All that remains is the memory of the exact second the drill cut into empty space, and the feeling that they were only inches away from cracking the greatest mystery in North American history. But here's the thing. Oak Island has never tolerated silence for long, and you can bet the team won't stay silent either. They know what they saw. They know what they felt. That pocket of air, that cavity. It wasn't a trick. It was real, and it's still down there. Since the shutdown, the theories haven't slowed for a moment. Every late-night podcast, every blog writer, every treasure-hunting forum has invented its own storyline. The ideas range from unbelievable to unsettling. Some claim the hollow space belonged to a collapsed underground sanctuary built long ago by secret groups. Others swear the cavity once stored something radioactive, something dangerous enough to trigger government involvement the moment the drill touched it. And even after operations halted, strange discoveries kept surfacing. Flecks of gold in wooden fragments, odd markings on old maps, and whispers that the chamber was intentionally empty, a decoy room crafted to mislead anyone who got too close. It wouldn't be surprising, considering how many times the money pit has been flooded, sabotaged, or turned impossible by design. Whatever it was, it changed everything. Rick and Marty have been chasing shadows for more than 10 years. They've hit wood, metal, bone, and fragile scraps of parchment. They've recovered Spanish coins, strange carved stones, even pieces of forgotten tools. But none of those finds ever brought the digging to a halt. None of them ever made the government step in. This discovery did. It makes you wonder what's genuinely buried down there. And if they had drilled just 5 feet deeper, would anyone even be allowed to discuss it today? Still, Rick and Marty haven't stepped away. They've been quietly studying every bit of data, cross-checking old records, and meeting with lawyers. No official statements, but you can see it in their eyes during interviews. Something happened, and they have no intention of letting it fade. Terry has been uneasy, too. He keeps mentioning anomalies, details that don't match any normal geological pattern. He's convinced the void is only one part of a much bigger structure. Maybe a chain of hidden spaces sitting just deep enough to remain concealed but not unreachable. And then there's the map. A few weeks after the shutdown, an old, unverified map turned up, worn edges, cryptic notes, and it showed something that made the whole team sit upright. A triangular formation buried exactly beneath the DN alignment. Not a tunnel, not a chamber, a shape. That shifted everything, because triangles don't simply appear underground, especially not ones surrounded by empty pockets and unusual readings. And that wasn't the only map. Others surfaced. Digital scans, hand-drawn diagrams passed down through families, all pointing to the same area, all hinting that whatever lies under Oak Island may not be treasure at all, but a device or a monument. That's the moment people stopped chuckling. It's easy to laugh about pirates. It's easy to mock gold hunters. But when engineers and physicists start arriving with their equipment and serious faces, pretending it's all a joke becomes a lot harder. Even the skeptics have toned things down. What comes next is anyone's guess. The island is still closed off, the drill rig's still locked in storage, But every week something new slips out. A radar reading, a pressure shift, an odd echo from deep below. And each one makes the original shutdown appear more suspicious. This isn't just a treasure search anymore. It's something else entirely. Something deeper. And the clock is already ticking. They tested old wood hauled up from far beneath the surface. Nothing that usually causes a stir, except this time it did. Mixed with the usual minerals was something shimmering. Gold. Not a coin or a chunk, just a faint trace embedded in the fibers. The gold content was tiny, only 0.04%, but enough to set off alarms. And it wasn't a one-time fluke. Once they realized that strange sparkle was authentic, the team dove into full detective mode. More samples, more testing, more scanning, and each result came back just as strange as the last. It wasn't just the gold. Other metals started showing up in patterns that made no sense. Not natural, not local, as if someone had placed them there intentionally. Emma, the metal expert, went dead quiet. Not the thoughtful quiet, but the kind where your mind is racing so fast your voice can't keep up. The readings were strange, not just rare, unfamiliar. These weren't the kinds of elements you'd expect from a misplaced coin dropped centuries ago. This looked engineered. And then came the tunnel. The location of the wood matched a structure underground. Not a natural fissure, not a root channel. An actual tunnel. Straight edges, smooth bends, ancient but unmistakably man-made. Someone built it long ago for a reason. People began whispering. Not loudly, but with those subtle looks and raised eyebrows that say, "This is not normal." Meetings dragged into late-night hours. The crew upgraded equipment, and then another sample arrived. Same pattern. More gold, but also metals that practically shouted their presence. This wasn't simple treasure. This was something different. They weren't just uncovering riches. They had stumbled onto something constructed. Something was built beneath Oak Island. That's when the rumors erupted. Some claimed it was ancient technology. Others said it was a sign left by people who weren't supposed to be in this part of the world. There were murmurs about magnetic oddities, strange energy patterns, things you don't measure in ounces or percentages. Meanwhile, the crew quietly packed up. Emma, Rick, everyone. No drama, no public announcements, just locked gates and sealed files. But the island didn't stop stirring. Locals spotted helicopters flying low, trucks without plates, movements that never showed up in any official report. And the islanders, they'd seen strange things before, but never like this. Some believed the team found a chamber, not just a tunnel, but a hidden vault large enough to store something enormous, large enough to hide a truth too big to speak. Maybe this was never about treasure at all. Maybe Oak Island has been guarding something history erased on purpose. Or worse, something deliberately buried. When the crew studied the soil layers, they noticed shifts and compressions where none should exist, pockets of trapped air that didn't belong, signs that something had been placed there, and placed there deliberately. The structure wasn't just a tunnel, it was part of a larger network, a grid stretching beneath the island, linked by ancient pathways, rotting timber, and peculiar stone. And here's the strange part. When those stones were tested, they showed traces of something radioactive. Not enough to be dangerous, but enough to make officials uneasy. Enough to get the attention of people in high-level rooms. Then there was the water. Not normal groundwater, but salt water with unusual properties. Weird density levels, strange chemical behavior, something that pointed to contamination or design. Either way, not natural. It felt like the entire island had been engineered. not just as a hiding place, but as a mechanism, a layered system meant to preserve, protect, or possibly trap something. What if the island isn't simply a repository, but a beacon? What if the gold and the odd metals are just clues left behind by something far older than anyone has ever admitted? And here's the twist. The shutdown didn't stop at Oak Island. Other places went dark too. Sites that never made the news. Remote digs where similar materials were tested. The pattern? They all shut down within weeks of one another. Coincidence or cleanup? Back on the island, nothing looks different. Same shoreline, same trees, but the digging has stopped, the cameras are gone, and silence has taken over. Heavy, intentional silence. People who lived near the site began getting visits, polite conversations, offers to buy property, subtle pressure. Then the fences went up. Why all the secrecy? If it was only gold, they could have said so. If it was dangerous, they could have warned people. But they didn't. They just closed it. No explanations, just padlocks. The real story isn't what they uncovered. It's what they weren't supposed to uncover. There are places in the world where curiosity is encouraged. Oak Island isn't one of them anymore. And here's the unsettling part. The crew always sensed this might happen. They talked about the risk, not the risk of collapse or lost funding, but the risk of finding something real, something that can't be used for TV drama, something that brings everything to a stop and demands absolute silence. Real gold found beneath the swamp. The team was poking around the usual suspects. The money pit, Lot 5, the swamp, doing their high-tech radar thing, hoping to score another ancient spoon or whatever. But then came the scan. Not a weird blip. Not a maybe. A solid, undeniable line under the ground. Long, deep, man-made. And the wildest part? It's sitting just off the swamp like it owns the place. But it wasn't supposed to be there. What makes it even juicier is the surrounding dirt. Water samples near the shaft were loaded with trace gold. Not theoretical gold. Actual particles. Real stuff. Like someone dropped a treasure chest and didn't bother picking it up. And just when they thought that was the big reveal, boom! Another anomaly popped up less than 20 feet away. Deeper, older, maybe even connected. Suddenly, there's talk of chambers, offshoots, maybe a vault, and the radar isn't lying. There's a pattern now, a layout, like someone was building underground real estate for more than just kicks. All this stuff is landing within a few feet of each other. Tools, coins, bullets. It's like someone dropped a backpack full of ancient loot and forgot to come back for it. Come here, look at this. Is this coconut fiber? And the kicker, the radar team ran more scans north of the swamp, where an old legend talked about a possible dam. A dam. Like someone tried to literally reshape the island's geography to cover their tracks. What did the scans show? Linear anomalies, straight lines, man-made formations buried just a few feet down. At this point, it's not even about if the treasure is real. It's about who had the guts and the time to build all this. Dig teams are scrambling. No more random boreholes. Now it's precision strikes. Every shaft they open leads to more wood, more gold traces, and more mystery. The latest core sample hit wood at only 39 feet, practically shallow by Oak Island standards. But the wood was clean, positioned upright, like part of a wall or, better yet, part of another secret shaft. The team knows what this means. This isn't just one tunnel anymore. It's a network, a system, maybe even an entire buried complex. They're not chasing rumors now. They're chasing a blueprint. And every new find tightens the screws on a story that's been loose for way too long. All the old stories, the ghost tales whispered around campfires, suddenly sound a lot more like warnings than wild tales. And now these bits of broken history, coins, musk balls, fragments of wood cut with ancient tools, are drawing lines on the map nobody ever saw coming. It's no longer about treasure alone. It's about infrastructure, purpose, planning. Somebody had a reason to do all this. Picture it. Hand-hewn beams placed with precision. Wood treated and buried deep where the sun doesn't touch. This wasn't a quick stash and go. This took months, maybe years. Which means whoever did it wasn't just trying to hide something. They were making sure it stayed buried. Treasure chest or something that can be retrieved from the body of the swamp. Back near the shaft, more samples keep pouring in. Soil packed around old timbers carries traces of metals. Not just gold now, but lead, iron, and even a little silver. As if the shaft was constructed around some central vault. Or worse, as if it was built as a trap meant to lure in the curious and bury them with nothing to show for it. Every time they put a drill into the ground, the island fires back with more confusion. And none of it lines up with the treasure maps or survey records from the 1800s. This isn't about digging deeper anymore, it's about digging smarter. Lot 5 keeps coughing up wild discoveries. A second hammered coin surfaces, rough-edged, but the design hints at Portuguese work. Then comes a strange hinge fragment, maybe from a chest. Metal detector signals light up like a holiday display. And deeper still, ceramic pottery so ancient it falls apart at a touch. The deeper they go, the more the island talks. Ancient wood, rusted iron. The whole area feels like a time capsule packed with intention. Layer on layer like some kind of buried cake. Top layer, leftover junk from modern explorers. Middle, musket-age relics, weapons, coins. Bottom, the real secret. On the island's edge, the swamp offers up something new. That dam might have been holding back more than water. Digging along the anomaly line reveals a perfectly straight row of rocks that don't belong there, and beneath them, logs, not driftwood, cut clean and bound with rusted iron. Suddenly, the theory shifts again. Maybe the swamp wasn't originally a swamp. Maybe it was flooded deliberately. And if that's true, everything underneath it was meant to stay hidden. As days blend into nights, the dig crews barely sleep. Every shaft they open drags the timeline back another century, and every artifact sparks new questions. Who built all this? Why did they do it? And how did they manage to keep it quiet for so long? The deeper they push, the more the island pushes back. Water surges into shafts, ancient beams give way, equipment snaps. But no one is backing out. Not now. Not after seeing what's down there. On Lot 10, just north of that oddly triangle-shaped swamp everyone whispers about, the scanners lit up. Not literally, but almost. They detected a shape, and not just any shape. A rectangle measuring 12 by 15 feet, tucked neatly beneath layers of soil, like it had been waiting for someone to find it. When something like that shows up on Oak Island, nobody shrugs and walks away. They bring in machines, buckets, detectors, and the people who actually know how to run them. It didn't take long before they hit something strange. Wood, but not driftwood, not the brittle, flaking kind. This wood had heft and form. Some pieces were even soaked with oil, not thick tar or creosote, but something older, something people used long before industrial preservatives existed. Sailors used it. Builders used it. Anyone who wanted wood to endure used it. And there it was, sitting just a few feet under the surface, in a spot where no one remembers building anything at all. Thanks for watching. Make sure to drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to stay with us on the next chapter.